So good to see you.
Oh. People of the Philippines
Ellen is
taught the
speaking.
world about bravery, humanity, and morality. This is a story about how just a few individuals saved over 1,200 people during the Holocaust. When we honor President Quezon and the Philippines for saving so many lives during the Holocaust, we remember that each life matters and that his impact reached far beyond the over 1,200 people who were saved. We have one such reminder of this important lesson with us tonight. Erica Price Regenberg, where are you? I can't see. Please stand. Erica is joining us tonight along with her sister-in-laws, Julie Dan and Debbie Kay. Erica's father was one of the Jewish refugees who was saved because of President Quezon and the Philippines. And she is a testament to saying whoever saves one life, it is considered in Judaism to have saved an entire world. Erica's father, Harry, and her mother, Margot, live in New York and were in attendance when, on the 70th anniversary after President Quezon's open door policy, the Philippines and President Quezon were honored with the unveiling of the monument, Open Doors, at the Holocaust Park in Rishon-LeZion, a city located 40 minutes from Jerusalem. Erica, thank you for joining us here today. It's very special to have you representing your family.
Tonight is my honor to introduce the Philippines Consul General to the Chicago area and the Midwest. Ambassador Generoso Calone is a career diplomat whose career in the Foreign Service spans almost 3 decades. He has served in Philippine diplomatic missions in Washington, in Moscow, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, and Saipan in a variety of capacities. And most near and dear to our hearts, he most recently served as the Philippine ambassador to Israel before taking his post here in Chicago.
Thank you very much for a very kind introduction. This is a movie that's very close to my heart, particularly because of my service in Israel. And I'd like to say that the life of Quezon is not very familiar to the young people, and this movie will pass on to the generations that will come even after us. I am deeply honored to join you this evening to represent the Philippine government and the Filipino community at the special screening of this film, whose subject we as a nation can only take pride to know more about and share with you and the rest of the world. I had the privilege of seeing this film for the first time when I was ambassador to Israel, and then just last September at the Holocaust Memorial Center in Farmington Hills, Michigan, where they had to do a second screening immediately because so many people had wanted to see it, but were simply could not be accommodated because of the sheer number of people who wanted to see it. I most surely welcome the idea of watching it again. I won't tire of watching it again. This time with the Filipino-American and U.S.-American audience closer to home, and particularly here in Skokie, which we may consider to be the epicenter of the Filipino community in Illinois and the Midwest. There are many great feature films about the Holocaust, some featuring superb actors, riveting scenes and dramatic twists, while others take on a more direct and documentary style. This particular story is about another Oscar Schindler in an unexpected place somewhere in Asia, as told from the perspective of one family. Now, I do not wish to spoil it for you, but I would just like to highlight its underlying message or theme, which is a lesson worth snatching from the snares of oblivion and worth retelling to the present and future generations. The Filipinos' hospitality, combined with their deep love of life and freedom, is well known and well documented in history. We struggled against the colonial government of Spain to establish the first republic in Asia. We did not give up our fight for independence, even after we fell and became the first American colony, and were plunged into World War II. We fought the forces of tyranny with the Americans and pursued our march from the dark valleys of death and captivity to the glorious dawn of freedom and dignity. And only a generation ago, we inspired and gained the admiration of the international community with the bloodless revolution that toppled a dictatorship. But very little did we know that in a very crucial time, this unique Filipino trait was crystallized in the politically daring and bold decision taken by then President Manuel L. Quezon of the Philippine Commonwealth. It was unpopular, unconventional, risky, and contrary to official U.S. foreign policy. Yet, he dared to open the country's doors to accept Jews who were trying to escape the Holocaust in Europe. I'm sure you know about the SS St. Louis that was turned away as it was approaching the shores of Florida. All those on board were killed in Europe. President Quezon ended up saving around 1,200 Jews, though he originally envisioned rescuing 10,000 in 1938, if not for the outbreak of the war. Because of the U.S. control of the Philippines, visas were issued through American embassies and consulates, but he personally authorized 10,000 visas. When the war intervened, only more than 1,200 were able to make it. But the number, I believe, is quite substantial. If I may quote the Talmud, whoever destroys a single life is as guilty as though he had destroyed the entire world. And whoever rescues a single life earns as much merit as though he had rescued the entire world. Mr. Jack Simke, a descendant of the Manilaners, as they were referred to, for those who were rescued by President Quezon with the help of High Commissioner to the Philippines, Paul McNutt of Indiana, was born in the Philippines and now lives in California. He is married and has 3 children. Out of gratitude for the Philippines, he still keeps his Philippine passport, and so do his children, visiting the country every so often. In his passion to proclaim how grateful he is to the Philippines, I felt in his words the power of discovering and retelling of this heroic deed. We are fortunate that it was not left buried with President Quezon's remains, but is now well researched and dramatically portrayed in this film. Again, I quote the Talmud, which says, "He that gives should never remember, he that receives should never forget." I would like to thank the Frieder family for producing this film about a very significant historical fact and a facet of Philippine relations with world Jewry, even prior to the existence of the State of Israel. While it is probably second nature for us Filipinos, or more particularly for President Quezon, to do a good deed and the right thing for a person or an entire people in time of need, it is kindness on their part to make sure it is acknowledged and recognized. I also would like to thank the American Jewish Council of Chicago and all the sponsors of this film screening. In a way, you have redeemed for us Filipinos a lost heirloom that reminds us of who we are and what we are capable of, as exemplified by our late President Quezon. My only wish is that formal recognition would be granted to him and that more museums or Holocaust centers in the United States would emulate the initiative taken by the Holocaust Memorial Center in Michigan by including President Quezon in their own gallery of the righteous among the nations. As you know, Yad Vashem has not recognized Quezon as a righteous among the nations. The reason being, they say that he never risked his life in saving Jews. But I cannot think of a situation where a sitting president would risk his physical life to save people. He was half a world away in Asia, and the Holocaust was about to proceed in Europe. But he risked his political life because you know the position of the State Department around those times. Finally, my hope is that we should all be so moved by this example of generosity and charity to do the right thing at all times, for our good deeds to serve and unite us beyond our borders, beyond our religions, and beyond our lifetimes. I thank you. Let's enjoy the movie.
I remember the journalists came.
The mob was screaming bloody murder. Kill the Jews.
We were hiding in the cellar.
They broke into the store and were looting.
We went downstairs after they left and there was nothing left.
I still have nightmares to this day.
We apparently got a letter that said you have to leave Germany.
We were the last train out of Berlin.
What will sein mit uns? What will happen to us?
The best hope for Jews was escape. Most of the world closed its doors, but one fledgling nation, the Philippines, did not. In this tropical paradise, thousands of miles from Europe, an unlikely group of poker players were planning a rescue. These poker players were Manuel Quezon, the country's newly elected president, Paul McNutt, U.S. High Commissioner to the Philippines, an ambitious Army colonel named Dwight Eisenhower, and 5 cigar makers from Cincinnati, the Frieder brothers. They had a plan that would save more than 1,300 Jews from Nazi death camps, a plan for a rescue in the Philippines.
How could anybody?
The card games were held in many places, on the presidential yacht.
My father played poker with him on his yacht just outside Malacanang Palace, where his yacht was moored in the Pasig River.
In the air-conditioned lobby of the Manila Hotel.
The Manila Hotel was the tops. It was a major center of social activity.
At the home of Greek-American private investigator Angel Zervoulakos.
This kind of poker where the Frieder brothers come to, they come out looking like they've smoked a lot of cigars. They sure smell like it though. I do believe that my dad had part in this, in helping the Frieder brothers, and he knew what they were doing.
These high-stake games also took place in the cooling breeze of the Frieders' back porch.
We could hear what was going on the porch all the time. We could hear when someone brought food out to them or drinks out to them, but they were playing poker out there.
It was at these games that the friends developed a plan to build upon the success of the Shanghai rescue. It was a cause close to all of them. McNutt called Jewish refugees helpless and persecuted wanderers with no place to lay their heads. Eisenhower wrote in his diary, "Hitler's record with the Jews is as black as that of any barbarian of the Dark Ages." To Quezon, it was not a question of whether his country would help, but why other nations did not. For the Frieders, it simply needed to be done.
They felt, because they were one of the 50 American Jewish families there, that was the role everybody had to play if you're lucky enough to be in the Philippines. Try and get as many out as you could.
The goal was to bring thousands of European Jews to the Philippines. But even with the legal authority to approve visas, Paul McNutt knew he needed to be holding a pair of pocket aces to deal with an unsympathetic State Department. One was support from President Quezon. Quezon had dealt with waves of immigrants before, and he was acutely aware of the voices of anti-Semitism in his own country. But Quezon stood strong. Even with Quezon's support, McNutt knew their plan could still be torpedoed because of the requirement that no immigrant could become a public charge. In other words, no money, no job, no visa.
President Kazan had stipulated that he didn't want anybody that would be a burden on the economy. And so the Jewish community had to promise that they would take care of them, which they did.
And that was McNutt's second ace, the Frieders. Kazan and McNutt turned to the Frieder brothers to work out a system so that only Jewish immigrants with the skills and resources to support themselves would be sent visas. And if the refugees did arrive penniless, the Jewish community would still take care of them.
Videography, video editing, and reporting. This is Joseph Gelariosa of thefilmmessenger.com in Skokie, Illinois.